Sonny is remarkable. I think Sonny made more records than any other modern jazz man, and probably actually more or as many as anybody. He made a huge number of records, only because he always was available if somebody asked him, and he could always use the bread, you know, so that was, and he was one of those people that never needed to warm up. I mean, he could put the horn in his mouth and he'd play, you know, as well as he could play, which was very well indeed. I mean, he had great facility, and he was a two guy, you know, alto and tenor. I really preferred him on tenor. I think he was more original on tenor because on alto he was so influenced by Charlie Parker that, you know, Charlie Parker is somebody whom you will never equal. And unlike Charlie was great at clinching his choruses, but Sonny DeGotti always taught in 4 and 8 bar patterns, so there was not that continuous effect that Bird had when he played a solo. So on tenor he was great. Also a Lester Young man, really. And that Sonny was one of he could go on the bandstand cold, you know, without warming up his horn and just, you know, get it off. He had a great facility. I had one. I had seen Sonny, and I've been to recording sessions of his. My longtime friend, whom I now haven't seen in ages because he has been off the scene, is Don Schlitten, who was a great record producer, and Don did quite a bit with Sonny, and so I got a chance to see him in the studio, and the way he worked too. He had a great vocabulary of tunes, you know, and but he wasn't necessarily, he was competitive, and he wasn't necessarily always a gentleman. I was at a session, that was one of Bob Thiel's things. He liked to put people together. It was Dexter and Paul Gonsalves, whom I'm not sure we've talked about. Have we talked about Paul?
We have.
Yeah. Well, Paul was, you know, he was the sweetest guy imaginable. Sonny was not. So I remember they were sitting next to each other, of course, you know, there was a two-tenor thing. And between them, there was one of those ashtrays, you know, on a whatchamacallit, pedestal or whatever, between them and everything. When Paul was taking a solo, Sonny reached over him to put out a cigarette in the ashtray, you know, which was not a very nice thing to do. But on the other hand, I had one, you know, we knew each other to say hello and stuff like that. But at one time we were judges together in one of those collegiate jazz festivals that for a while were, you know, very big time with having a, you know, a bevy of judges. And this particular one, if I remember correctly, was Clark Terry and Sonny and a very good white trumpet player whom I know, but I can't call his name, and me, you know, and that's when I, you know, discovered that Sonny was somebody who wanted company, because we were all staying in the same hotel, and I don't know, we had dinner together or something. Giovanni, he asked me to, you know, he came up to his room, and he had produced a bottle of vodka and poured me and himself good-sized drink, and he just wanted to talk. And I realized that he was, he was lonely. I mean, he wanted to, he wanted to have some company. Truth up, he consumed a lot more of that bottle than I did. It reminded me of Eddie Condon and the vodka, which I think I've talked about. But he really wanted to talk, and he got some insight into him as a person, which was very hard to get in a superficial, encounter. So, but as I say, the most amazing thing about Sonny was that he could, just pick up a horn or even somebody else's horn, and just pour it out. And he had wonderful time and a great ear. So, but he and Ira Sullivan, who are very different personalities, had a thing. Ira told me in Miami, where Ira was living then, and may still be, that they spent about a week playing together in a club, and I would have liked to hear that. And there, although Sonny was very competitive, apparently he was not. They just got together and had a good time.